Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino back here. And right now, things aren't in perfect order for Arsenal Football Club. And I think words from one of their star and one of their better defenders kind of puts it all into perspective. And Laurent Koscielny what he basically said was this: we have a mental problem in maintaining consistency against big clubs. And this is not an issue that I think has been exclusive to Arsenal. It's happened to many big clubs where it just seems like in the big games against the big opponents, there's just something that's not working. And this season, that really has been a huge, huge issue for Arsenal. And you could go so many different directions when you're discussing Arsenal right now. Of course, Arsene Wenger's future is always up in the air, coming off the most recent loss in the Champions League 5-1 to Bayern Munich. There's a lot of things that just aren't going very well for the club right now, and I think certainly one of the biggest issues has been their inability to pick up points and really impose their own will on the top clubs of the Premier League. And just one of the things I came across, Arsenal have won once and lost 4 times against other clubs currently in the top 7 of the Premier League. And I think it mirrors Manchester City last season. Manchester City last year, I don't think any of us would dispute on paper, probably the most talented roster. Kevin De Bruyne was brought in last season. Raheem Sterling was brought in last season. Already pieces in place there, terrific pieces like David Silva and Sergio Aguero. Such a star-studded, talented group of players. Manuel Pellegrini, you could argue how effective of a manager he is, but I think largely City just kept on coming up with disappointing result after disappointing result against the top clubs in the league, whether it was Tottenham or Arsenal last season, or if it was against Leicester City. It didn't matter who it was. If it was a top-tier club in the Premier League, they seemed to shut down and they didn't seem to be able to pull out victories. And Arsenal finds themselves in a very, very similar position. And I think, again, you go kind of back to Koscielny for a minute with what he was saying, and I think one of his quotes was, again, so important. He said, against big teams, you need more than talent. And at the end of the day, that really is what not just the Premier League is about, but that's really what all sports are about. It really does come with more than talent. And then he kind of elaborated on that and talked about how important it is to play for each other, to help your teammates. And I think certainly that's one of the things that we haven't seen from Arsenal Football Club is help people, the willingness to help each other, to go the extra mile for your other teammates. Now, I don't want to indict Arsenal's locker room because I just don't think that we can fairly say anything without being in that environment, but I just think that the proof is in the pudding when you look at the Premier League and the way it's played out this season. Even you go back to last season now, people have been on Arsene Wenger's case for a long time because it's been a while since he's won the title, of course, but if there was a season where he could kind of get the doubters off his back and kind of reassert his place in the upper echelon, being regarded in the upper echelon of the top managers in the league, it would have been last year winning the title. But of course, we know Leicester City Football Club, they had different plans last year, and they just wanted to shed all the doubters and the odds and win the title. But still, Arsenal's funny enough Leicester City lost 3 times last year. Once to Liverpool, the other 2, of course, to Arsenal. But it just seems like we've had so much different, and there's been a regression. And obviously Arsenal's continually being relevant, being in the top 5, finishing in good positions. But you got to ask what relevancy is coming out of this. And I just think you continue to see the same problems exist. And in almost every other sport, if this trend continued, the person in charge there wouldn't be in charge there very much longer. And obviously, Arsene Wenger's kind of regarded a little bit differently because of how long he's been there, the amount of winning he did do a little bit earlier in his career. But I think for the most part, the problem that you're seeing from them this season, this inability to defeat the other top clubs in the league, that's got to be the ultimate sticking point. I mean, Manchester City last season, I saw play out weekend after weekend in the Premier League. If you're a City supporter, I can't imagine how frustrating it had to be watching your club, which you know on paper should be the equal of all these other clubs, but isn't. You're not getting the results that you should. You're not even being able to really look like you're competing with these other top clubs. It's frustrating, and I know the Arsenal fans are so frustrated right now with the way everything's going, but Arsene Wenger really is, at the end of the day, the person where the criticism has to be dished out to. Because if you're the leader of that club, you're the one who's going to be in charge of getting your guys ready. And if you are regarded as one of these top clubs and you're ranked at number 4 right now, well, you should be having much better results against the other top 7 in the league. But those results just haven't come their way. And look, things don't get easier for them. March starts off, and it's going to come quickly. Liverpool on March 4th at Anfield. We all know how difficult of a place that is to play historically. And look, I mean, I don't think that anyone would like to see Arsenal be able to go into Anfield and pick up a big win more than the Arsenal faithful after, of course, the opening weekend of the Premier League. Liverpool thrashes Arsenal at the Emirates, but I think right now, all Arsenal can really do is continue to just try to recompose themselves. And then right after that, on March 7th, a couple days later, they've got the second leg of their match against Bayern Munich. And I think most realistic people are kind of counting their Champions League campaign over after the 5-1 loss. I mean, nothing is impossible, but I think coming back from that is pretty much impossible. And I think right now Arsenal just has to look at the future a little bit right now. We just saw Claudio Ranieri sacked today, and I think certainly right now things haven't gone perfectly for them, but it's a different story for a different day right now on Arsenal, of course. I think right now it just, at the end of the day, how many fans want to see Arsene Wenger back? I mean, I think from the fans that I've listened to and that I've heard to have discussions, they're realistic, and they see sometimes you just need a change, and it seems like Arsene Wenger will kind of control his own destiny and will decide what he wants to do. He said even if it's not at Arsenal, he wants to continue coaching elsewhere, which I think kind of is going to make things a little bit more difficult at season's end, but at the end of the day, you have to make a change. You just do. You can't continue to have these same results. And again, I go back and you look at Man City. Man City finished 4th in the table last season. Arsenal right now is in 4th place. How ironic would it be if these two clubs, which on paper can compete with anyone, but can't seem to pick up the results against the top clubs? Well, how ironic would it be if both of them finished in 4th place in these two last seasons? But that's going to be it, Arsenal fans. I know you always like to comment and let your voices be heard. I want to hear your voices. Let me know in the comments below. Until the next time, everyone, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. Follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino and on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino. And I'll see everybody in the next episode.